Before you do anything else, stop scrolling. Seriously. Don't blink, don't swipe, don't click away. Because what you're about to hear is not just another celebrity moment, not just another viral clip, and definitely not something you can fully understand in the first few seconds. If you want to be part of the conversation everyone is about to have, you need to stay right here until the very end. And one more thing before we start. If at any moment during this video you feel confused, shocked, uncomfortable, or even worried, that reaction matters. Drop a comment later. Hit like if you're feeling the tension. And make sure you're still here when we connect all the dots. Trust me, this is one of those stories that only makes sense once you see the full picture. It started like so many other times before. A notification. A name everyone in the world knows. Britney Spears. Another post. Another video. And at first glance, it looks harmless. Casual. Almost playful. But then you actually watch it, and something feels off. Not in a dramatic, obvious way. Not in a way you can immediately explain. Just off. Britney is at home, alone, filming herself. She starts singing Rihanna's Unfaithful, but not normally. Not casually. She's using a full British accent, leaning into it hard, almost theatrically. It's dramatic. It's intense. It's unfiltered. And suddenly, millions of people are watching the same clip and having the exact same thought. Is this okay? The setting doesn't help. The house looks chaotic. Dogs are running around in the background. The floor looks messy. Some viewers swear they noticed something else, something they wish they hadn't seen at all. Britney seems completely in her own world, completely unaware of how this looks from the outside. Or maybe she's very aware, and that's what makes it even more unsettling. The energy is raw, spontaneous, almost frantic. There's no polish, no structure. No sense that anyone else is in the room, or even involved in the decision to post this. And that's when the discomfort sets in. Because this isn't just a pop star messing around online. This is Britney Spears. A woman whose every move has been dissected for decades. A woman whose life has been controlled, managed, and monitored more than almost any other celebrity in modern history. So when she posts something like this, people don't just watch. They analyze. They freeze frames. They replay it. They zoom in. They read into everything. And this time, a lot of people didn't like what they saw. Within minutes, the reactions started pouring in. Except not where Britney could see them. Her comments were disabled, like they often are. So the concern spilled everywhere else. Social media platforms lit up with the same question phrased 1,000 different ways. Is she okay? People weren't making jokes. They weren't laughing it off. They were worried, genuinely worried. And the tone was different this time. Heavier, more serious, less forgiving. Some people said it was hard to watch. Others said it felt like watching someone unravel in real time. And then, slowly but surely, a word started appearing more and more often. A word that immediately makes people uncomfortable when it's connected to Britney Spears. Intervention. Just reading it felt explosive. Because everyone remembers what happened the last time people claimed they were stepping in for her own good. And that's where the internet split cleanly down the middle. On one side, you had fans saying they were scared, saying this didn't feel like fun or freedom, saying this didn't look empowering, saying they felt like they were watching something deeply personal that maybe shouldn't be public. They argued that caring about Britney doesn't mean controlling her, and that ignoring warning signs isn't the same as respecting her autonomy. On the other side, you had fans who immediately pushed back. Hard. They said this is exactly what freedom looks like. Messy. Uncomfortable. Unapologetic. They argued that Britney spent most of her life being forced to perform, forced to behave, forced to fit an image that everyone else decided for her. And now, finally, she gets to be weird, loud, cringe, dramatic, human. To them, calling for an intervention wasn't concern. It was a betrayal of everything she fought for. And here's the part that makes this story impossible to simplify. Both sides have a point. And that's what makes every new post feel heavier than the last. Because just when people were still debating that video, still arguing about intent versus impact, still trying to decide whether they were projecting or perceiving reality, Britney posted again. This time, no singing, no accents, No explanation. Just a provocative image that immediately set the internet on fire. Minimal covering. No caption. Comments disabled. And within hours, massive engagement. Some people called it iconic. Others called it disturbing. Some praised her confidence. Others said it felt like escalation. And once again, no one could agree on what it meant. Was it reclaiming her body? Was it shock value? Was it a statement? Or was it something else entirely? And this is where the pattern starts to emerge, whether people want to admit it or not. Because this wasn't an isolated moment. Over the past weeks, Britney's online presence has been bouncing between playful, confusing, and genuinely concerning. Dancing videos that feel hypnotic and repetitive. Random accents appearing and disappearing mid-sentence. Messages that don't fully connect. Clips that feel deeply personal, but strangely detached at the same time. To some viewers, it feels like watching performance art unfold without context. To others, it feels like watching someone who doesn't know how else to communicate anymore. And that's the uncomfortable truth, sitting underneath all of this. Since her conservatorship ended, social media has become Britney's primary voice. There's no public relations filter, no carefully crafted statements, no team stepping in to say maybe not this one. What you see is raw, immediate, unedited. And while that level of freedom is exactly what so many people fought for, it also means there's nothing standing between Britney's inner world and the entire internet. That kind of exposure would be overwhelming for anyone, let alone someone whose life has already been lived under a microscope. So the question keeps hanging in the air, unanswered, growing heavier with every post. Is this what liberation looks like when it finally arrives after decades of control? Or is this what happens when someone who has been silenced for too long is suddenly given a megaphone with no guidance on how to use it? And here's why you need to stay until the very end of the story. Because the answer isn't as obvious as it seems. And the most important part of this conversation isn't what Britney posted. It's what everyone else is doing in response. The way we're watching. The way we're reacting. The way we're turning real moments into speculation, concern, and content. In the next part, we're going to go deeper into why this situation feels different from every other Britney moment before it. What has changed since the conservatorship ended? And why so many people are suddenly afraid to look away. So don't leave now. If you're feeling unsettled, that's exactly where this story wants you. Stay right here. And remember, when this is over, I want to hear from you. Did this feel like freedom to you? Or did it feel like something else entirely? We'll talk about how to make your voice part of this conversation at the end. If you're still here, that means you felt it too. That tension, that strange mix of fascination and discomfort that makes it impossible to look away. And this is exactly where things start getting complicated, because this isn't just about one video or one photo. This is about context. And Britney Spears, more than almost anyone else, cannot be separated from her context. For years, Britney's image was carefully controlled. Every interview, every performance, every smile was approved, managed, and polished. Even her breakdowns were packaged and sold as headlines. So when people talk about her current online presence, they're not just reacting to what she's doing now. They're reacting to everything they remember. Every paparazzi photo, every court document, every tearful moment that the world consumed without mercy. When the conservatorship ended, it was supposed to be the beginning of a new chapter. Freedom, healing, rebirth. Fans celebrated like justice had finally been served. And in many ways it was. Britney was no longer legally silenced. No longer forced into a system that controlled her money, her body, her career, her voice. Social media became her outlet, her diary, her stage, her megaphone. But here's the part no one really prepared for. Freedom doesn't come with instructions, especially not after decades of control. And when someone has spent most of their adult life being told what to say, how to act, and when to stop, the absence of rules can feel just as overwhelming as the presence of them. So when Britney posts something that feels chaotic or confusing or deeply personal, the question becomes, is this unfiltered authenticity, or is it the result of someone still figuring out how to exist without a cage? And that's where the audience comes in. Because whether we like it or not, we are part of the story now. Every view, every share, Every comment, every stitch, every reaction video titled "I'm concerned" or "This is iconic." We're all adding fuel to something we don't fully understand. Some people say watching is an act of support. Others say it's exploitation disguised as concern. And both arguments hold uncomfortable truth. Think about it. Britney's comments are off. She's not responding. She's not clarifying. She's not explaining. She's just posting, and the world is filling in the blanks for her. Entire narratives are being built around seconds-long clips. Diagnoses are being thrown around. Motives are being assumed. And Britney remains silent, at least in the ways people expect her to speak. That silence is loud, because silence leaves space. And space gets filled with theories, with fear, with nostalgia, with projection. Some people project empowerment onto her every move, desperate for a happy ending that proves the fight was worth it. Others project concern, afraid that ignoring discomfort makes them complicit in something darker. And then there's the issue no one wants to say out loud. The internet doesn't know how to handle a woman like Britney when she's not performing in a way that feels safe, when she's not packaged as a comeback story, when she's not clean, coherent, or inspirational, when she's messy in a way that doesn't translate easily into applause. That's why her recent posts hit differently. They don't ask for approval. They don't explain themselves. They don't guide interpretation. They just exist. And existence without context makes people nervous. The accents, the dancing, the sudden shifts in tone. To some, it feels playful, like someone finally having fun without caring what anyone thinks. To others, it feels disjointed, like someone struggling to anchor themselves. And the truth is, both can be happening at the same time. Human beings are not one-dimensional. Healing is not linear. Freedom is not always pretty. But social media doesn't like complexity. It likes clear narratives, heroes and villains, empowerment or downfall. And Britney refuses to fit neatly into any of those boxes right now. That's why every new post becomes an event, a test, a mirror. People aren't just reacting to Britney. They're reacting to their own expectations of her, to what they want her to represent, to what they need her story to mean. And that's a dangerous place to put any person. Because once a narrative takes hold, it's hard to escape it, especially when millions of eyes are watching for confirmation. A smile becomes proof. A strange comment becomes evidence. A dance becomes a warning sign, or a declaration of independence, depending on who's watching. And Britney knows she's being watched. That's the part people often forget. This isn't accidental. She knows exactly how much attention her posts get. She knows the reactions they spark. So the question shifts again. Is she leaning into that attention? Is she playing with it? Is she using shock and ambiguity as a form of control in a world that once controlled her? Or is she simply expressing herself in the only way she knows how right now, without concern for how it will be received? That ambiguity is what keeps people hooked. It's what keeps the conversation alive. It's what keeps concern and fascination tangled together in a way that feels impossible to separate. And the longer this goes on, the harder it becomes to tell where the line is. The line between supporting someone's freedom and ignoring signs of distress. The line between respecting autonomy and abandoning care. The line between watching and exploiting. This is where the story gets uncomfortable. Because there's no clear villain, no clear solution, no simple takeaway. And that's why the final part matters the most. Because at the end of this, the question isn't just about Britney Spears. It's about us, about how we consume people, about how we respond when someone doesn't perform healing the way we expect them to. So don't go anywhere. In the final part, we're going to confront the question everyone is dancing around, the responsibility of the audience, and why this moment might say more about the culture watching Britney than about Britney herself. Stay with me, and start thinking now, because when this ends, I want you to say it out loud in the comments. Not what you think everyone else wants to hear, what you actually feel. If you made it this far, you already know this isn't a story with an easy ending. And maybe that's exactly why it's hitting so hard. Because somewhere between concern and curiosity, between admiration and discomfort, we're all realizing the same thing. We don't actually know what to do with this. For so long, Britney Spears was a symbol of pop perfection, of excess, of collapse, of injustice, of survival. Every era of her life came with a narrative the world could digest. Even her pain was turned into something consumable. But right now, there is no clean narrative, no headline that fully explains what we're seeing. And that uncertainty is driving people crazy. Because when someone like Britney stops performing in a way that feels familiar, it forces the audience to sit with their own expectations. We want recovery to look calm. We want freedom to look joyful. We want healing to look inspirational. We want a story to make sense. And when it doesn't, the instinct is to fix it, label it, or explain it away. That's why the reactions keep escalating. Why every post sparks a new wave of analysis. Why people feel the need to choose sides. Because ambiguity is uncomfortable, and the internet is not built for patience. But here's the uncomfortable truth underneath all of this. Britney doesn't owe the world a performance of wellness. She doesn't owe clarity. She doesn't owe reassurance. And yet, because she is who she is, everything she does is treated like a message that must be decoded. And that puts her in an impossible position. If she acts carefree, she's accused of being unwell. If she acts provocative, she's accused of spiraling. If she goes quiet, people worry. If she posts too much, people panic. There's no version of her that won't be scrutinized. No version that won't be turned into a debate. So where does that leave her? Possibly doing the only thing she can. Expressing herself without asking permission. Without filtering. Without explaining. Whether that expression looks like empowerment or distress depends entirely on who's watching. And that brings us back to the role of the audience. Because this moment is not just about Britney's posts. It's about how quickly concern turns into content. How easily empathy turns into speculation. How often we confuse access with entitlement. There's a difference between caring and consuming. Between support and surveillance. And that line gets blurred fast when someone's entire life has been public for decades. So maybe the real question isn't whether Britney is okay. Maybe the real question is whether we, as viewers, know how to step back when there isn't a clear answer. Whether we can resist the urge to diagnose, to dramatize, to demand explanations that we're not entitled to. Because the truth is, no one watching from the outside has enough information to declare what's really happening. Not fans. Not critics. Not commentators. We see fragments. Moments. Clips stripped of context and amplified by algorithms designed to reward outrage and obsession. And yet, those fragments are shaping a global conversation about a real person. That's a heavy responsibility, whether we acknowledge it or not. Britney Spears is still one of the most recognizable names in the world. But right now, instead of talking about her artistry, her impact, or her future, we're dissecting body language, accents, and Instagram posts. We're watching closely, not because we understand, but because we don't. And maybe that's the most honest place to land. Admitting we don't know. Admitting discomfort without turning it into control. Admitting concern without turning it into a spectacle. Because whatever this moment is, it's unfinished. Still unfolding. And it doesn't belong to us to resolve. Now this is where you come in. Because this conversation doesn't end here. It continues with you. I want you to pause for a second and really think about how this made you feel. Not what you think you're supposed to feel. Not what the loudest voices online are saying. What you actually felt while watching the story unfold. Did it feel like freedom? Did it feel unsettling? Did it feel like both at the same time? Scroll down and tell me. Leave a comment with your honest reaction. You don't need to write an essay. One sentence is enough. But make it real. And if you want to be part of the ongoing discussion, make sure to like this video so more people see it and add their perspective. That's how the conversation grows. That's how different viewpoints meet. And if you want to stay updated as this story continues to evolve, now is the moment to stay connected. Because this isn't over. Not even close. And the next chapter, whatever it looks like, will raise even more questions than answers. So don't look away. Don't rush to judge. And don't pretend this doesn't make you uncomfortable. Sometimes the most important stories are the ones that refuse to give us closure.